This is one of the best warlock builds in the game right now, and I think it's one every warlock should learn how to play. It's a support build that will give your teammates unlimited heavy and healing while also letting you have some of the best ad clear in the game. This can be used in any end-game content from GMs all the way to a day one raid, and it's what I personally use to complete Legend Onslaught. So if you're looking to do any of that for yourself, be sure to stick around and I will teach you everything you need to know. Really quick, I do want to ask, would you all like to see a prismatic build speculation video? Now that we have a lot more info about it, I figured it could be fun to just try to mix and match things together. So just let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But enough of my yapping, let's jump into what makes this build so good and why every warlock should have it saved in at least one loadout slot. Starting off, let's take a look at our exotic Cenotaph Mask. This is going to be the core of the build, and this has the exotic perk High Priority. Steadily reloads a portion of your equipped trace rifle's magazine from reserves. Damaging a vehicle, boss, or champion with a trace rifle marks them as the target. When an ally defeats the marked target, special ammo is generated for you and heavy ammo for your allies. Starting off with the first part of it steadily reloading your weapon, this will actually work if you're holding the weapon or if it's stowed. This is good for two different reasons. One, because it is essentially giving you a bigger magazine size because while you're shooting, it will steadily reload over time. And then the second reason being that it's basically giving all your trace rifles auto-loading holster. If you swap to another weapon to ad clear or do DPS, this will steadily reload in the background, so you always have a magazine full to mark targets when you need to. As it's stated in the description, it can mark vehicles, bosses, and champions, with bosses and champions being the most thing you're going to mark. When you mark a target, a red symbol will appear to identify that you have done that, and you and your teammates can see this. This is honestly nice if you are playing in an LFG group, so you can let everyone know to shoot this target right now because it will be glowing. But then the main part of the exotic is when your teammates kill that marked target, it will make heavy ammo for them and special ammo for you. This is extremely strong in end-game content because there's usually more bosses and more champions around, and you can proc this on every single one of them. If you are marking every target, this just means your teammates will have infinite heavy ammo and they can use it whenever they want to. On top of that, since it does generate special as well, you pretty much have infinite special ammo, so you always have the ability to mark targets and also ad clear with the trace rifle if you need to. And speaking of trace rifles, let's take a look at what works really well with this. I am mainly going to be running Appetence because I'm going to be running Sunshot. We'll get more into this later, but if you want to run any other trace rifle, something like Divinity is also very good because you will apply a debuff and make that huge crit spot. On top of that, if you want to run something like the Navigator to apply Wolf ML, you can be even more of a support-based role by applying damage reduction to your teammates. And if you want to go even further into the support role, you can even run something like Lumina and just another legendary trace rifle, just so you can always have Lumina up to heal your teammates and still apply that debuff. But like I was saying, I like running Appetence alongside Sunshot because Sunshot will be very good for ad clear, and then Appetence can proc Cenotaph. And it also comes with things like Overflow, and pairing that with Cenotaph, you absolutely never have to reload this thing. But making heavy isn't the only way we're going to be able to support our team. We're also going to be playing heavily into healing. We're going to be running Phoenix Dive, so whenever we dive on a teammate, we'll apply a ×1 cure to ourselves and them. If you want to run Healing Rift, you can as well, but I just like Phoenix Dive because it has a lower cooldown. It can get you out of sticky situations, but either is up to you. I also am going to be running Healing Grenade, so whenever we throw a Healing Grenade on ourselves or our teammate, we will apply Restoration and Cure. We're going to be taking the aspect Touch of Flame to buff that up to ×2 Restoration and ×2 Cure, so you're going to get pretty much max health alongside that Restoration to heal you even more whenever you throw this on anyone. Now we will also be taking Well of Radiance to heal our allies alongside giving them a damage boost, and we'll also be taking the Fragment Emperor of Mercy, so when you revive an ally, you and other nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up a Fire Sprite grants restoration. So between all of those, you are now going to have 4 ways to heal your teammates. Healing Grenade is going to be the strongest paired with Touch of Flame, but Phoenix Dive is also great because you will get this cooldown back very fast. Wall of Radiance is obviously very strong just as your super, and Emperor of Mercy is nice because if someone does go down, you can get a clutch res to apply restoration, so you can make sure you get out of whatever engagement that you're in. And then with all those ways that we are healing our teammates, we're also going to be taking Emperor of Benevolence, so applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration rate for a short duration. Every single form of healing we just talked about will apply Emperor of Benevolence. This is going to give you a 400% increase base regen to every single one of your abilities. This just means you can now spam more healing grenades and more Phoenix Dives whenever you need to heal your teammates, and this will obviously chain into each each other, so you can just have permanent uptime on Ember of Benevolence. And since this is also giving you melee energy, the melee I personally like to run is Incinerator Snap, because you can just snap the ground to cause an ignition to clear a lot of ads out or do some decent single target damage. Or you could also run Celestial Fire if you want a more ranged melee to proc some of our artifact perks to debuff enemies. It's really up to you. I just prefer Incinerator Snap, but both are very, very strong. Now, the final way we're going to round our subclass out is by taking Icarus Stash, so we can have a dodge. This is extremely good for mobility and even survivability, because you could just dodge away from an enemy. But on top of that, if you are getting kills in the air, around every 3 kills, you will apply a ×1 cure to yourself, which is nice to have if you are just jumping in the air, killing enemies with Sunshot. Things will just die, so you will get this ×1 cure from time to time. On top of that, we also are going to be taking Ember of Empyrean, so solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. So since we can apply restoration to ourselves with healing grenade and even Ember of Mercy, this just means now every solo kill we're getting, we can just extend that duration, and we also will be extending radiant once we get into our artifact perks. Now, the final fragment is Ember of Searing, so defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. We're going to be scorching enemies all the time, so we're always making fire sprites and getting melee energy back, again, to debuff enemies. And when we pick up a fire sprite, we will also be granted extra grenade energy alongside proccing Ember of Mercy's second part, so whenever we pick up a fire sprite, we'll be granted restoration. This is going to be a ×1 restoration, but since you will have fire sprites everywhere, you can always have this all the time. And if you have ×2 proc from your healing grenade, this will just add additional time to that ×2 restoration instead of resetting it back to ×1. But now let's take a look at the artifact perks. First off, we're going to be taking Flint Strikers, so whenever we get solar rapid final blows or precision hits, we will become radiant. This is how we're going to become radiant, and you can extend this with Ember of Empyrean, so you're doubling up on radiant and restoration now. On top of that, with Kindling Trigger, while we are radiant, when we do damage with our solar weapons, we will apply Scorch. This is obviously nice to proc things like Ember of Searing, and on top of that, with Sunshot, the explosions can also apply Scorch, so you're scorching everything to apply Ember of Searing to make those fire sprites. And then if that wasn't enough, we also are going to be taking Rays of Precision, so whenever we get a precision final blow while we are radiant, we will cause an ignition. This is just nice for even extra ad clear. Pairing that with Sunshot's explosions, you just can kill everything in the game. And then the final perk is going to be Revitalizing Blast. Whenever you deal damage with a solar ability, you will apply Weaken. That is where your melee is going to come in clutch, so it's nice to have infinite melees. And with Ember of Benevolence and Searing, you're going to have infinite abilities at all times to always heal your teammates and always apply debuffs, while also having some of the best ad clear in the game and being able to make permanent heavy for your team. And for stat distribution on this build, make sure to go with 100 resilience to get 30% damage reduction, and then I would go into discipline. If you can get this to max, this will be a 45-second healing grenade cooldown. Pairing that with benevolence, you will get this back very fast. And then if you can, I would try to get to 100 recovery so you can get your Phoenix style back even faster. But now let's jump into armor mods, and as always, if you'd like to see an in-depth breakdown of this build, be sure to head over to Mobalytics. I will link everything down below, and you can read about it over there while I go over it in the video. But starting off with our helmet, we're going to be taking a harmonic siphon, so rapid solo weapon final blows can make orbs of power. This is going to be very nice paired with Sunshot, because we're going to be able to kill enemies all the time. These orbs will be for you and your teammates, so this is just another way to support your team. And another way to do that will also be with heavy ammo finder, so this will increase the drop chance of heavy ammo. And if you pair this with a heavy ammo scout, the heavy ammo that drops from this will also drop for your teammates. The cool part about this is the fact that this will have an increased chance to drop if you are running a exotic primary weapon, so Sunshot will have an increased chance. So now essentially your Sunshot and your Trace Rifle can make heavy ammo for your teammates, which is obviously very strong, because more heavy ammo the better. Now onto our arms, I'm going to be taking a harmonic loader so I can increase the reload speed of my solar weapons. This can just reload Sunshot a little bit faster, since you don't have to worry about reloading your Trace Rifle with Cenotaph. This just means now you can get more benefits out of your primary. Now I'm also going to be taking Focusing Strike and Impact Induction, so whenever I cause damage with my melee ability, I will get 12% ability energy for my class ability and my grenade. This is just going to be a way to spam our abilities even more, and since we are getting melee energy from Searing and Benevolence, this just means we can proc this even more often. Now for your chest piece, always go with the resistant mods. Just be sure to swap these out for whatever content you're going into. And then for your boots, I like to take a recuperation, so whenever I pick an orb up, I will be granted 70 health. And then on top of that, I like to take a better already, so whenever I pick an orb up, I will start my health generation. With these two paired together, you become almost unkillable, especially if you can pick an orb up and not take damage from an enemy, because because you will just heal to max, but this also just gives you a nice bump as soon as you pick an orb up. So now when you're on the battlefield, you could be able to look out for fire sprites to grant you restoration and also orbs to also grant you health. And then the final one is innervation. So whenever you pick up an orb of power, you'll be granted grenade energy. This is going to be 10% grenade energy, and this just means you can spam your healing grenade even more. Now, if you're going into a DPS phase, you can definitely swap these out for triple surge mods, but if you're going for ad clear, definitely just be sure to have these on because I think this will give you the most bang for your buck. Now, for your class item, I do like to take a bomber because this will give you 12% grenade energy whenever you use a Phoenix dive. Obviously, we can spam our Phoenix dive a lot, so we'll just get even more grenade energy back. I also like to take a powerful attraction since we can use our class ability a lot. We can pick up all the orbs around us when we use it. Those orb pickups will proc our boot mods and just also give us super energy as well, so this is very, very nice. Then I also like to take a proximity ward, so whenever I use a finisher, I will gain an overshield. This is just another nice survivability thing. If you're ever in a sticky situation, you can look for a finisher and you're pretty much unkillable, but if you want to swap this out, you absolutely can for pretty much anything else. Now, there is a reason I am not running any charge with light mods, and that is for the fact that I don't want to pick up orbs of power that are on the ground if I have my super already. So if you have a charge with light mod equipped, you will be able to pick up all the orbs of power even if your super is full. And in Legend Onslaught, I would honestly argue that that is worse than just leaving the orbs on the ground because you want to save those orbs for your super. Spamming supers over and over again in Onslaught is what makes it easy to do. So picking up those orbs while you have your super full just means you won't have that for super energy, and to me that is personally just not a good thing. Now, in any other parts of the game, I don't think it matters as much. If you want to run something like a grenade kickstart, you absolutely can, but for Legend Onslaught, I have found this to be the most useful just so I can always have my super whenever I need it. And now for the final part of the build. This is the Transmog I'm running if you would like to copy it down. Obviously, Cenotaph is really hard to work with. I tried to give it a medic look in a way. It's supposed to kind of look like blood, I guess, but this is what I went for. I think it turned out okay, but if you want to make your warlock look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. But all right, that is going to do it all for this build. Let me know what you all think about it in the comments below. Have you given Cenotaph a try? I know some people know how strong it is and a lot of people overlook it, but it genuinely is one of the strongest support warlock builds in the entire game. Letting your teammates just use their heavy whenever they want to and just having enough heavy for something like a DPS phase is always going to be nice, and this just makes that extremely easy to do. Anyways, though, I wish you all the best of luck on going for your Legend Onslaught completion. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.